Hello, welcome to my week 2 hands-on learning activity. This week I'm going to be discussing properties and probabilities. This week I'm going to be doing that by actually introducing the topic to the students and then having them play a game amongst themselves to really solidify the topic. So it first begins with the discussion on probability. I found a great reference that I've included in my list on how to introduce the subject by using little cansies or marbles, something along those lines, and the teacher will place them in a bag and ask the students to predict what he or she will pull out of the bag next. It really helps if there's an odd number or more than one of the other color in the bag. For example, you'll have 4 candies in a bag, 3 of them will be green, the one will be red. Ask the students, hey, what color do you think I'm going to pull out of this bag, knowing what color candies are in here? And then once the students make that prediction, ask them why. Why did you make that prediction? That prediction means that you use standards of probability in your brain to predict that that color will be chosen. And the teacher will then go over how to predict probability in a mathematical sense by using fractions. Once the students kind of have an idea of how that works, then they can move forward to the game. The game works by the teacher passing out 2 player game pieces, 1 die and 1 board game or 1 board piece to a pairing of students. So each students are going to be put in pairs. The rules of the game, there will be 2 or 3 rounds depending on how the teacher wants to run the game. The first round, each student will be designated as A or B. Student A will only be allowed to move if they roll a 1, a 2, or a 3 on the dice, and then student B can only move their marker if they roll a 4, a 5, or a 6. So if student A does not roll a 1, 2, or 3, they don't get to move. If student B doesn't roll a 4, 5, or 6, they don't get to move. So the students are going to use probability to predict who will win the game. After round 1 is done, then the teacher changes the rules. Student A will now only be allowed to move if they roll a 1 or 2, and student B will be allowed to move if they roll a 3, 4, 5, or 6. So definitely a little unfair towards student A. However, this really drives home the idea of probability. I found the great idea for this game from another one of my references, which is included on the list. So to keep the game fair, the teacher can reverse the roles for round 3 and have the students swap from A to B. That way they don't feel as if they're being cheated out of winning the game. However, I chose not to give prizes for whoever wins the games. If anything, if the students want any kind of recognition, I'll give them a high five. But for a game like this, I'm really more interested in the students learning the concepts of probability rather than trying to win this game. But I feel like it's a fun and competitive way for the students to really understand how probability works.